Well, welcome to Lotus Livin with Char. I am Char, and I have a special guest who is a friend of the show, Mercedes Harvey, here with us today. Hey, girl.
Hey, listen, Char just gave a whole HIPAA violation. Do not remember my last name. Don't come looking for me. Don't come checking for me. Just know that I'm at the well.
That's
I'm in the
it.
Lotus.
Yes, that's it. That's it. Well, thank you so much. Of course, in being new still to this podcasting game, you're about to help a girl here.
Yes.
Talk to myself. So I appreciate that. But anyway, this segment of the show is called Talk Your Shit. I gave a small, minute introduction to Mercedes, but can't nobody introduce you the way you can introduce you. So by all means, talk your shit right now. Who are you?
I'm that bitch.
Period. That's it.
Period. I'm professional. I'm exceptional. I'm vibrant. I'm beautiful. I'm spiritual. I'm all of those things. And just a reminder, do not remember my last name. I don't need nobody calling me. I know Valentine's Day is coming up soon, but I'm like,
period.
You know, I know you like to look. Yeah. But other than that, I'm a goofy person. I love to laugh. I love to have fun. I just love to have a good time. Yes. Life should be enjoyed with the people that you love and with like-minded people. So that's why we're here today.
Absolutely. That's it. And that's an intro. And that's an intro. Point blank period.
Yes.
Listen, I'm heavy on the vibrance. I love language. Words really matter to me.
Yes.
I know that it annoys my husband a bit because I don't care, if a word is a synonym or not. The word I like is the word that I like.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter if you say the same thing in a different way. It don't matter. It's about perception. Language is important. And there's just some words that just bring a vibe. And vibrant is like one of those words to me. That's a grown-up word.
Yeah.
You don't hear people out in the street saying, "Oh, I'm vibrant." That's an adult word.
Yes.
I'm here for grown folk language.
Before this episode, I was in the Webster Dictionary. Like, let me make
Period.
sure I picked the correct word.
Listen,
I ain't just trying to say I'm good.
I'm not mad. I love it. Okay. Awesome. So Lotus Livin, of course, is we'll talk about at the end exactly what that encompasses, but it's all about living overall a well-balanced life. And I like to, highlight various wellness experiences. Is there a wellness experience that you've had, recently? This year is crazy that this year is almost over.
Right.
It is mid-November. We're approaching December. Mm-hmm. The year will be done and we will be entering 2024. So just in reflection of this year, has there been a wellness experience, and it could be anything, that you've experienced this year that like really stood out to you?
I would say finding out my family's history, being able to put birth dates with people, trying to find pictures of ancestors that was born into slavery, like that really took a minute to process because it's like it's right here on paper. But normally if I found out that probably 2 years ago, if I was to find out my ancestor was a slave, I'd be pissed off. But instead what I've been doing, I've really been focusing on African traditional religions. So right now I'm in like my hoodoo phase. Like I have an ancestral altar. I make sure I pour a glass of water every day. I make sure I thank my ancestors before I do anything. I make sure I take care of my plants around that altar. I bring them oranges and apples and bananas. And it's just really been making me happy. Like, I've really just been in like a happy space.
Right.
So it's just, I would say that was like the biggest takeaway. And I started that in June of this year.
Yes.
And my mom is in on it. My daughter is in on it. So it's like, oh, we're about to be dashiki.
Wait, not. You know what? Not dashiki guys.
But
I'm here for that.
We still celebrate Christmas. My daughter ain't right there.
Yeah.
But that's been like one of the biggest takeaways, just like knowing my family's history and being like, wow, I really came from these people, and knowing that my family went through so much and still were like some of the first people in their neighborhoods to go to college, full scholarships, becoming doctors and dentists. I have a great-great-grandfather who was illegally making moonshine and was like constantly on the run from the police, and they only found him once.
Oh my god.
And it was like, what?
That is amazing.
That's been my biggest takeaway.
Yes. It's so refreshing. I think it's crazy because, you know, we're going to talk about, you know, self-discovery, and if you are the person that you were meant to become. And I think it is very difficult. It's challenging to know who you are and who you were meant to become without knowing what and who you are connected to.
Right.
So I think just having, you know, the ability to research your family lifeline and, you know, your history, your, you know, ancestors and all of those things, I think is amazing. Yeah, that makes me happy too. Cause I'm sure that my family has done, you know, their history as well, as far as our lifeline and, you know, our ancestors who we have been connected to, but I don't really, know like a whole lot. You know, I only know what's been told to me.
Right.
So I mean, that motivates me to also start to ask questions, you know, because that's the thing. Sometimes we don't ask questions about who, what, when, where, why, how, and we should.
Yeah.
We should. I would love to know more about, you know, my grandparents, great grandparents, and great grandparents, you know, side. You know, just in all transparency, I've been a bit hesitant with doing like an ancestry.com or 23andMe.
Yeah.
It's something, you know, it's something about the whole DNA part of it that I'm just like, you know.
Well, here's the crazy part with ancestry. You don't even have to take the test.
Okay.
So what you do is you start, like, you'll plug in a family member's name, and then they'll show you like the census and the people that lived in that area, and if they filled out a World War I draft card, or where their last name changed once slavery was over on that side, because you know it's a whole big story when slavery was over. But instead of having to give them your blood or your stuff, you just type it up and be like, oh, well, this the person, is that person, and the crazy thing, I have like 600 cousins that I never knew I had. I thought I just had a little small quiet family. My great-great-grandma had 15 kids.
Jeez.
And I'm like,
wow.
And the crazy part is that my great-grandmother's mom, she had abandoned her children. That's the story.
Yeah.
And here's, I mean, I might sound crazy, but 15 kids?
Yeah.
And my great-grandma had 4 kids? I would have caught that train too. I'm sorry. Because
it's a lot.
When you think about everything that they could have possibly went through and what they weren't able to heal, and how it now is translated into other people, it's like, yeah, running away probably was like the best option. Right. But I am still trying to figure out, like, okay, well, where is my great-grandma's mom? Because I cannot find this lady. Like, she be lying about her age. She lied about her age so many times on the birth records.
Is she still alive?
No.
No. Okay.
I think she was born in 1900.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Child, she would have.
Yeah. Listen, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. Like,
wait a minute.
Listen, like Randy Poole.
Like Char. Like what? Like why? Like why? Why would she say that?
Listen, it happens. Like when kids be like, "Was you in slavery?" Like, do I look like I was in slavery? Like, stop playing with me. They wasn't doing bullets like this. It's like, stop playing with me.
Oh my goodness.
It's I understand.
That wasn't even supposed to be funny. Sure. Anyway. But back to the importance at hand. I think that's an amazing wellness experience. You know, and I'm sure it's like kind of like a Sherlock Holmes situation where it's like you're investigating and, just finding these things out about your family and your family history.
I swear I'm a CIA agent. Like,
Yes. I'm here for that.
Oh, you can't find this person? Oh, I got you. I'm going to find them. I can find anything I need to. Legally.
Yeah.
Legally. I can find things I need to. But I love snooping around. That's what I used to do in my great-grandma's. I used to snoop around and like take stuff with me.
Yes.
And she called my mom like, please tell this girl to bring my stuff. You're not supposed to be stealing my stuff. But it's like, I like finding out new things. And then it's like, the more you find out, the more you know. And you become smarter and you become wiser.
Yes. And the more I think you realize who you are. Yeah, I think finding out information about your family is extremely important. Certain things start to make sense to you, about yourself. Like, oh, maybe that's why I often feel this way, or maybe that's why I think this way. One of the things that I don't think we, realize enough of how connected we are, biologically, historically, to everybody that we've been attached to that have come before us. Right. We are still technically, let me tell you something, that DNA piece is a huge
it's so big.
piece. What is it called? Eugenics? When we talk about some of the historical trauma that particularly people of color who were slaves have endured, having your children taken away, or and how we may respond to that today. It's like, why am I feeling this way? Why am I overprotective of my child? Or why do I fear, XYZ? And sometimes if nothing specifically happened to us, we're trying to figure out where that energy is coming from. And sometimes it comes from, all that has occurred previously. So I think that's an amazing wellness experience. Thanks for sharing that. And I'm sure as you continue to research your family history, you'll find out a lot of other nuggets. And, now, your daughter will be able to learn about her history and know that and then teach it to her children. And,
and then they can know. And it's now we have a whole generation of people who are not left in the dark about where they come from.
Speaking of being left in the dark of where you come from, as you know, within our country right now, our society, different communities are attempting to discredit and discount history, So I think it's important, it is our responsibility to know and to teach it, because there are going to be individuals who don't want you to know. They don't want you to know the truth. When the truth is suppressed or buried, we know what that can become. So I do think it's important that we, keep our authority and our power over our history, over where we've come from, and continue to share that information, so that it's not suppressed, so that it's not hidden anymore.
Because it's happened before.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, no, you can't afford it again.
I know that's right.
Like, at all. The mental health issues that have come from not knowing who you are has been so crucial. You see how people respond just from somebody honking the car, like just from somebody honking their horn at them because they're at the red light too long. And then now there's shootings at the red light. There's shootings at your corner store. And people will sit there and they'll try to villainize the people that are that may be doing these crimes, but they have a mental health issue that has not been addressed. And I'm sure if you went back, you would see an ancestor that probably was going through the same thing as them. Because when you look at death certificates or just newspaper articles, and you hear about lynchings, but to know that they happened to a family member and to see that on their death certificate, it kind of brings things into perspective. And it's like, then when you go into your spiritual journey, it's like, before I used to be so upset, why would they leave? Why do I gotta be the one to beat up the generational trauma? Why do I gotta be the one to fix that? And it's like, now I'm so honored that you looked at me and was like, you crazy enough to fix this. And I'm gonna give you all the tools you need. It's not gonna be when you need it. It's not gonna be right then and there. You might hear it 5 years from now, but you're the one that's going to do it. Like, I selected you. And it's like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm not just going to sit there. I might get tired. I might be mad. You have your emotional moments. But it's like, I got something bigger than me to fix. And like, if I can fix it right here, that means my child ain't going to have to worry about it. And our kids ain't going to have to worry about it. So let me do what I can to try to fix that or to try to heal that.
Yeah.
So
being chosen.
Yes.
Sometimes you don't want to be chosen.
It's like, I was
to do
here
certain things. Yes. But you know, I think you say something extremely significant. You talked about it being an honor to hold the reins. You know, we're resistant sometimes to having that responsibility because I think on one level we know how heavy that responsibility can be to, you know, eradicate generational trauma, you know, to face it head on and to choose to be brave enough to say, no, this is not happening to me again. This is not happening to the next person.
Right.
It stops here. I leave the circle of the trauma, right? Generational trauma. And I know that's like a whole nother topic. But it is a cycle. That's why it's generational. It means it continues to go on and on. And someone has to leave the cycle. And it is scary. You know, there are times I'm sure you can identify. I know that I can identify when I've chosen to leave the cycle, and it's not always met with the best reception by those who are comfortable continuing to be where they are, you know, whether they're the predator in the situation, be it even the victim in the situation. Right. Sometimes you're used to what you're used to, regardless of what that looks like. And I think it's important that, you know, we know that sometimes, no, we didn't choose to do any particular thing. We didn't choose. Right. But depending on what you believe, if you were chosen, you were chosen. Yeah. One way or another. We can run, we can hide, we can attempt to avoid. But at the end of the day, if we were called to do something, if we were called to be something, we can't really get out of it. You can't. It's always going to find you. It's always going to find you. And as a matter of fact, and I'm gonna look this up because I don't want to tear this name up. So I was able, you know, to travel to Montgomery, Alabama, to visit the National Memorial for Peace and Justice and the Legacy Museum. I didn't want to chop it up. I wanted to make sure that I gave credit to where credit is due. And I, you know, posted about this experience on social media. Granted, we went in July, and I don't think we posted it until like September, October. I don't remember, but I needed that amount of time because I really needed to process the experience. And one of the things that stood out to me about being proud, which you said, in being chosen now, you know, accepting that, was that when we went to the Legacy Museum, and you go through all of the areas, you know, they were themed, and you literally walk through from the moment, you know, I don't want to say the moment slavery began, but from our records that what we can think of with, you know, our ancestors being taken from Africa, the ship, you know, being shipped over here to this country. You started at the beginning and kind of transcended into every era of the Black experience. That's what I'm gonna call it. And there was a moment that you got to where Dr. King is and Malcolm X is, you know, in the 60s and, you know, the 70s, 50s, 60s. So we're talking about the Jim Crow era that I think for the most part we're familiar with when it comes to our history and learning Black history. And in part of the museum, there's a wall of pictures. Dr. King is in that picture. A lot of other civil rights activists that have really devoted their life to making sure that you and I can even sit across from each other as we speak right now in the Lotus Well. The women and the men of color who pretty much laid their lives out, for this purpose. There's a wall of their mugshots in the museum. And when you look at the wall of mugshots, everybody, for the most part, seemed to be in good spirits. It's like, for a minute, you wouldn't even realize that they were mugshots, so to speak. It's like, okay. So, Dr. King is smiling, and then you have all of the others. And one of the things that, they stated about, this representation of the mugshots and why it's so significant is that it was an honor to be arrested for something important. Like your freedom. Like to be able to eat at a restaurant that you would like to eat at without having to come to the back door. It was an honor to be arrested for not wanting or refusing to give up your seat to somebody just because they were lighter than you, so to speak. After you worked just as much of a hard day as they did and wanted to have a seat and sit down. It was an honor to be arrested in advocating for your freedom and for standing up for something that is right, that belongs to you, that others are trying to take away. And I think, of course, nowadays, unfortunately, that honor looks different. But I think at that time, they were smiling at times because it's like, yeah, take my mug shot, because guess what, I'm gonna do it again.
Exactly.
And I'm gonna do it again until I get what I deserve. So yeah, we can talk about this all day.
I know.
All day long. About what.
But even seeing the pictures, like I didn't get to go to Alabama, but seeing the pictures and then going on to Google and trying to do research on the museum, I saw that somebody took a video of the Africans that were like on the boat in the water washing over them. It almost brought me to tears. Like it literally almost brought me to tears because there's times where we're living and we're just living. Like we're just like, oh dang, I'm pissed off they ain't got my favorite lemonade, or I'm pissed off that I don't have $50 to go out or whatever. But it's like our ancestors didn't have much of anything, and they still was like, this is not enough. And I'm not taking this laying down. Like, I'm going to stand up, I'm going to fight. All the rebellions, all the protests, like, all the work that's being put in is for a reason. It's like, sometimes you just feel like, I'm just living just to live. And it's like, no, you got to find purpose in why you're living. Especially as a Black person, like, we don't have the same privilege as other races. Like, we got to make Black excellence for ourselves. Nobody else is making that for us. So it's like, it's so crucial to just like, I don't know, just to be grateful for where you at. Yeah. Just to be grateful for where you at, to be able to work for a Black woman-owned and led wellness center. It's like, what? Who, like, what? Like, let that happen in 1960. The place could have got burnt down, like, so much. They could have like, oh no, you could put $50,000 in the bank here, and oh, we don't know where your money went. Like, so many different things to try to stop you, and it's like, we just gotta keep going.
Yeah, we gotta keep going. I think that's a mouthful. We have to keep going. We gotta keep pushing. Who would have thunk that we would be able to do this today? I'm so grateful. And I think that experience, really, I consider myself a humble person anyway, but I think my humility was exacerbated because it's just like, in those small moments where they don't have my juice or, oh, my order didn't come or this, that, and the third, it's just like, when I think about having a baby that I had snatched away, when I think about being on the side of a ship holding my baby, that this scene from Amistad still bothers me to this day. Where they're on the ship and she's holding her baby and she would rather die She jumped, couldn't swim, jumped off the ship with her baby and drowned. You would rather die than to endure slavery. Yeah, when I think about stuff like that, I'm just like, this little problem I got, these are good problems.
Right. And I'm going to be able to fix it.
I'm going to fix
get
it.
through it.
Yeah. Like, Char, come down. It's okay. And sometimes I got to be reminded of that. Like, these are good problems.
Right.
I couldn't imagine.
Right.
I couldn't imagine. So, you know, in talking about just moving from existence to living, to living a life, you know, well lived, which is, you know, really the language I want to continue to utilize. Living a life well lived, surpassing existence. At the Lotus Well, we practice out of the 8 dimensions of wellness. And I want to talk about the 8 dimensions a bit and then gauge how you are utilizing the 8 dimensions in your life. You know, and I'll tell you how I'm using the 8 dimensions in my life. But, you know, the 8 dimensions is actually a wellness and recovery model. It's a peer-led, peer-supported wellness and recovery model by Dr. Peggy Swarbrick. I want to make sure I'm saying her name right. But she is well-renowned, internationally known for the work that she does when it comes to peer support models in recovery. And she developed the 8 dimensions of wellness. And at this point, that concept, you know, of the development of the dimensions have been adapted and readapted by so many different organizations, institutions, mental health professionals like myself. You know, you know, she created the foundation for us to be able to apply it. Depending on, you know, who you're talking to and where you are, you know, they may call the dimensions pillars. They may call the dimensions, you know, other things.
Right.
And so the premise of the 8 dimensions of wellness is that you are not one part of yourself, right? There are 8 parts of yourself that we can kind of clump together to make the whole person. And of course, at the Lotus Well, we're here to help and support you become your best whole person, okay, in each part. And so with the 8 dimensions, the first dimension, and these are not necessarily in any particular order, is the emotional dimension. Now, Dr. Swarbrick has it as the emotional dimension. I always put mental/emotional because mental health and emotional health are relatable and influence each other, but they are very different. So the mental capacity of a person, you know, a lot of times I think about, you know, that cognitive ability, you know, that executive function, making decisions, you know, any of, you know, your thoughts and, you know, all of those things. Emotions have everything to do with your feelings, with your emotions. And of course, we know, depending on, you know, our thought processes, they influence sometimes how we feel and vice versa. So I think that you can't even focus on emotional health without considering the mental capacity of a person. And so with that, you have immense mental emotional wellness. And within this dimension, we want to bring some form of a balance as to how we treat our mind, how we treat our brain. Our brain is the nerve center of our entire being. Everything happens in the brain. Our brain is what tells us to speak, to walk, to blink. I couldn't imagine, you know, not being like it. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you.
Yeah, I couldn't.
It's that brain function, but just making sure that, you know, we're taking care of, you know, our emotions, being able to self-regulate, to manage how we are feeling in a healthy way, you know, minimizing maladaptive behavior. So those are like your unhealthy behaviors, you know, how to manage symptomology, like if you were depressed or anxious or, you know, stressed, how do you respond in those ways? So just creating a balance and a wellness point within that. Then you have the physical dimension, right? And the physical dimension is all about your physical health. Making sure that you go to the doctors and have your physical, you know, making sure that you're eating a balanced nutrition, making sure you're taking your vitamins, are you exercising? It's all about your physical health and well-being. Then you have your financial dimension. Okay, this is all about not just how much money you have, but how responsible you are with the money that you have. This is about investments. This is about being able to budget, being able to save. Are you fiscally responsible? Are you able to, supersede your wants, your needs over your wants, so to speak? You know what I'm saying? And creating that balance. So it's not just about money, but it's about how you respond to money in that relationship that you have with it in order for you to be able to take care of yourself and your family. So then, of course, you can't talk about money, and it could have been first without talking about occupational health. That is the other dimension, occupational health. Are you living in your purpose? You talked about this earlier. Is the job that you have bringing you joy? Are you thriving within your occupational sector, within your job, within your employment? If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, is this what you're supposed to be doing, and does it bring you joy? It's not that it can't be challenging and that it's thoughtless in a sense that you have a job that you don't have to think about, that doesn't bring you challenges, that makes you upset or whatever the case may be. But it's about wanting to get up and go to work the next day.
Yeah.
If you feel like, even though your job might be hard, I still want to go to work tomorrow,
Right.
then that means you're probably living within your purpose and doing what you want to do. So it's about having balance, and of course, your work environment being healthy. Is it conducive to your own personal growth, not only personally, but as a professional? Then you have your spiritual dimension. And I would consider, your wellness experience to really be plopped into quite a bit of these. And what we will find is that the dimensions overlap.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah.
And I'll get to that in a second. But just being able to, research your history and then encounter a particular spiritual practice that you're like, this is relatable to me, and this is something that I want to implement in my life. This is the spiritual dimension. Right. Being able, it's not about religion always. To some, it may be. But it's just about your own sound practices within your spirit, being able to believe in, a higher power than yourself, or, whatever type of connection that you even may have to, the environment, to nature, and all of these other things. So just making sure that you are attached to, a belief system, regardless of what that system is, regardless of who it is, in a healthy way, right? Because I don't know, I might get my hands slapped for saying what I'm about to say at the moment. I'm not talking about, but I mean, and this is no judgment, no shade, please community.
No.
I'm not coming for anybody. I'm just talking because at the Lotus Livin with Char, we be real.
We living with Char.
Period. What I'm talking about, I'm not talking about cults and things, because that is a belief system.
Yeah.
And that is a varying environment, depending on who you talk to. They may call a lot of other religions that are, I would consider acceptable or appropriate cults as well. Okay. I'm not talking about the ones that, take you away from your family and,
right.
Where the leaders are, having, inappropriate relationships with the children. I'm not talking about those ones. Those not the ones.
Not at all.
Those not the
Not at
ones.
all.
And, if I offend you, my apologies. However, I'm talking about true connection.
Yes.
To a higher power, that sets you on the right path.
Yes.
Not that one.
Yes.
Anyway, let me go about this. Let me digress before I get myself in the sissy with somebody. I don't want no problems. I don't want any problems. Social dimension is the next dimension. And this is all about healthy relationships. Being able to, establish healthy relationships with your family, with your children, with your parents, grandparents, caregivers, friends, peers, colleagues, co-workers. This is all about relational based focus, and just being able to have healthy relationships with people, being able to communicate, effectively with the people that are a part of your life, that you love, and want to be around, having those healthy connections. So, the thing about I've learned over the years, not learned, I think I've transcended into more of an introverted type of person versus being extroverted. I believe at one point in my life I was very outgoing, wanted to run the streets. And when I say run the streets, take it with a grain of salt. I wasn't like that. But listen, let me tell you something. It wasn't unknown, okay, for Char to work. One of my first jobs was at Char Medical Center, which is not Char Medical Center now. However, if you know about Char Medical Center, and I was a psych tech, if you know about it, you already know what type of job this was, right out of college, right? And it was not unheard of for me to work a double, 7 to 3, 3 to 11, go out after I leave work, then be back to work at 7 a.m.
I remember those days.
Okay?
Ooh, child. I wish I tried to do it again.
Let me tell you something.
No, too many
All
issues.
I'm gonna say
too many complications
is that you gotta catch me while I'm outside. Because let me tell you something, once I go in,
yes, inside,
the likelihood of me re-entering outside, it diminishes.
Yes.
It diminishes. So I try to set my schedule up so that when I leave home, I don't come back until it's time to stay. Because I cannot guarantee that I will retreat again. It's nothing personal. That's just my body not set up like that no more.
Yes.
My mood not set up like that no more.
Yes.
So relationships are extremely important to me, but I think it's important to know that they can evolve. How you execute the dimensions now and how you pay attention to them is different than how you pay attention to them later.
Right.
There may be some dimensions that have a hyper focus for you now, but then later on, some dimensions may, for you, go up, some might go down, and that's okay because we evolve, over time. There are certain things that are more important to us in one regard and than another place in our lives for a lot of different reasons. Then we have 2 more dimensions left. We have the environmental dimension. And environment, of course, is, it's not just about, being outside. So, of course, that's a big part of the environmental health. It's about, getting in tune with nature, really utilizing nature to the benefit of your health. I actually just recently, last month, went to an ecotherapy training, which was absolutely amazing. Shout out to the Black Lotus Collective. I'm pretty sure that's your name. I want to chop it up. Let me just look it up. Yes, Black Lotus Holistic Health Collective. Thank you so much for hosting that training. It was amazing. And one of the things you talk about history that I experienced at the training was that it is in one of the parks in Fairmount Park, right off of Wissahickon Avenue. So it's behind Lincoln Drive, on the Wissahickon Trail. So we have like a lot of hiking trails and stuff here. And the owner and curator of the Black Lotus Holistic Collective was telling us some of the history about the land that her office is on. She is in a historic location. It is considered a historic location. And the land was Lenape land, which is Native American tribe.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
It's Lenape land. And to know that information, was like, it was so powerful when you go outside. I mean, it's a beautiful area. It's like a little creek type, I mean, it was just extremely serene. But she said that sometimes, she goes outside, in her bare feet, and she just, puts her feet in, the grass and kind of just walk around. And I think that connection to know even over there, and it was, even though it was Lenape land, of course, during the Germantown War and, all of this stuff, when the Native Americans was kind of pushed out. And then, of course, once slavery occurred and, our ancestors, were slaves over there, worked over there. One of the things she talked about was how there's like barbed wires. I don't know if they're still over there now, but I want to say that she said there were barbed wires or thorns set up. And those thorns were set up to prevent escape.
Wow.
Yeah. And, when she purchased the property, it started to kind of survey the area. She started to notice like there were just certain things put up to prevent you from getting out. So the history, when you talk about the history, it's like history is important, for us to know. And of course, there are some details that I might be getting incorrect, but I left there knowing it was Lenape land at the end. My Native American ancestors, that were pushed out of something that, land that belonged to them.
Right.
And, it's crazy because I had shared with her, when I went to law school in Minnesota. Minnesota has a very high Native American population. They actually have a specific tract of law called tribal law for, those in Native American tribes. And I had, in my last year of law school, did this kind of seminar. There was only a couple credits, but it was independent work where I traveled to the Congressional Library, the Library of Congress, in DC, to help my law professor, research ownership of land that she's still helping Native Americans fight for.
Wow.
That was 2019. 2018, 2019. And I'm literally in the library, looking at, pieces of paper of, it wasn't all English because like that wasn't their language.
Right.
But I mean, pieces of paper to identify a person, having information, about them saying, oh, I have 2 children or 3 children, whatever it was, however they identify things. But I literally had this paper in my hand.
Right.
Of people still trying to prove
that this is what belongs to them.
Crazy.
Yeah, that blows my mind.
And then you gotta know, whoever you are, whoever you hear me talking to you, I'm talking to you, got a nerve to feel some type of way.
Yeah, like, don't do that. Don't do that. And then you're trying to make me crazy?
Child, I digress.
No.
I'm just saying. It's crazy, right? Still fighting over this land, that rightfully belongs to them. And, it makes me sad. But I think there's also a piece that I had, we were able, it was raining this day of the training, but everybody put on their ponchos and still went out and we still went on a small hike. And I think there's a piece that comes to that reclamation.
Yeah.
You pushed us out, but we back.
Coming right back. And we're not going nowhere this time.
We back.
Like, and it's more of us
That's
time.
it.
Yes.
And I think that I left there in peace and just wanting to. I've never been a nature girl. I don't like bugs, so that's usually what keeps me out of hiking. I love hiking because I love the physical challenge of it.
Yeah.
But I definitely left there motivated to just get outside,
right.
Take the walk, get the air. God truly provided us everything we needed from the land. Yeah. And I'm really just trying to make an effort, an intentional effort to get back to that. Because even though, whoever owned that property at that time, way back when, put the thorns up and, orchestrated the land so that people couldn't escape. Some did though. Right. Some were successful. Right. And it was the land that they depended on to give them their disguise. When I think about Harriet Tubman, let me tell you something. Harriet Tubman, my girl.
Yes, I love me some Harriet Tubman. I don't care what nobody say about Harriet Tubman.
My girl.
I don't care what nobody has to say about Harriet Tubman.
Listen,
I love me some Harriet Tubman.
She used the land.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she could not have done what she did without being able to depend on nature to disguise her, to lose her scent when she, you know, engulfed in bodies of water, to, you know, kind of cover herself up. And it's just like, you know, if Harriet needed to leave,
right,
I guess I need it too, you know, in a way. And it's extremely therapeutic to get outside. But you know, that's the environmental piece. But it's also about your living spaces, your working spaces. You know, one of my good friends, Dr. Kavana Nixon, you know, when I first bought this property, came to, you know, I was initially in one office and I'm in another office now, but she came and, you know, decorated my office because one of the things that she really is into is organization and how your space influences your mood. Right. There is a psychology that focuses on, you know, space and, you know, how it's orchestrated, the colors that you're using, you know, the different, how your furniture is placed, the plants that you have. And she came in and I mean, she feng shuied my shit. You know what I'm saying? Yes. And it was absolutely amazing. And, you know, one of the things that I've heard her say many, many times before is that you want the place that you work and the place that you live to be a place you want to be. Right. You want it to be welcoming. You want to say, oh my God, I love this kitchen. Oh my God, I want to be in my room. If your space is not giving you that, there are things that we need to do to change the environment. And I'm, you know, grateful for that experience. And have been, since that experience, way more cognizant about what my space looks like. More of my workspace than my home space. I'm still working on it.
Yes, that's a journey.
I'm still working on it. I got babies and it's very hard to keep a home space free of clutter. However, you know, I definitely put that energy into my workspace because I find when I feel good in my office, you know, I'm much more productive. I have much more clarity. So I appreciate that piece of it. And but it's also about where you live, right? So we're talking about your community environment. Is your community environment, you know, a hostile one? Is it one in which you feel safe? So the environment dimension matters, you know, because safety goes into not only your spiritual dimension, but your mental, emotional health. If you're living in a place that you feel is unsafe, what type of feelings, you know, are, you know, you're experiencing from not feeling like you live in a safe space? Then the final dimension, intellectual. Our intellectual health is extremely important. This is all about consuming knowledge. But I think the biggest part is giving it away. That seems to be the struggle for a lot of folks. What is the point of knowledge if we don't share it? So read the books, read the articles, listen to the music, listen to the podcasts like Lotus Livin with Char. You know, learn a new skill, learn a new dance, do the Sudoku puzzles, do the crossword, do it, but share it. Teach the person the line dance. Teach the, you don't know how to do Sudoku? Let me show you. Share the information. Entrepreneurs, business owners, I'm talking to you.
Tell me where I can get that grant ready.
Listen, I'm talking to you. And this time, I'm on notice. I want you to take it personal. We have to support each other.
Seriously. And it's not just a share. It's not just like, oh, I know somebody that does this. No, you need to immerse yourself in there. Become a part of it.
Become a part of it.
And but the thing is people are so afraid to become a part of things because they think you're not going to get nothing out of it. And it's like sometimes finances isn't something that you should be thinking of getting out of something. It's like, you know, child, I'd be like, my patience? My patience is like this thin with people, but I try my best to expand it more and more every day.
I'm telling you, it is extremely frustrating to engage other entrepreneurs, other business owners who want to keep knowledge hostage because they fear that, if I give you this information, you're going to have a one-up over me. You may do better than me. You may take this information and, I don't know, do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Here's my thing. And
okay.
So, it's like we can't prevent certain things from happening, right? We don't have control over other people.
Exactly.
However, we have control over us. Mm-hmm. We have control over ourselves. Of course, we want to be smart. I understand. I'm not ignorant to the fact that at times, most people who may be, not most, scratch that, some people who may be trying to get information from you may not be getting it for, the best intentions.
Right.
Maybe with you sharing certain information, you'll find that person has stolen your idea and now they're doing it at XYZ. Sometimes that shit happens.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But you learn from that. You make sure that you provide information that is helpful for a particular person without, of course, jeopardizing the things that you're doing. Your own IP, which is intellectual property, your own ideas, your own thoughts. Some things you do have to keep to yourself. I get that part in preserving your vision. However, when it comes to how do I establish my LLC? How do I get my EIN? Char, how do I, start my private practice? I just had 2 people pursue me in Char. Can you help me build my practice out? And my answer was, I sure can. What you need? What you need, where you want to start? What you want to do?
Yeah.
Listen, I may be a lot of things, but what I'm not is threatened by anyone.
Period.
I'm in my own lane over here.
Yeah.
Can't nobody do shit that I do.
Yeah.
Period. I'm so confident of that and sure of that me helping you only helps me continue to do what I'm doing.
Exactly. Hello.
And as a therapist, and really being able to provide make mental health services accessible to the community. All people, but particularly Black and brown folk. Let me tell you something. If there was enough therapists, it would still not be enough therapists to do the work that needs to be done, not only in our community, because we already know Philly is Philly alone. There's work we need to do here.
Yes.
But at this point, the way things are going worldwide, there's work to be done in this world. So if I can help you continue to do what you need to do in your life, even if you want to do what I'm doing, I don't have a problem sharing a lane over here.
Yeah.
When we drive outside, some lanes got these little lines, right? Most lanes have these little perforated lines, right? That means that you can come over to my side. That means sometimes cars are driving side by side. I'm in the left lane, you're in the right lane.
Yep.
However, we're going in the same direction.
Yep.
Sometimes I might need to slow down a bit. Sometimes I might get caught at that light and you were able to keep going. However, we're on the same path. We're on the same direction. It doesn't matter. We're doing this together. I don't have a problem sharing a lane.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem going in the same direction. Because I'm sure, I'm more than guaranteed, I am going to receive so much more. Like, I don't want to block my own blessings.
Right. Yeah.
It's like where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
It takes nothing for me to have a conversation or to help you. And when you talk about immersing yourself, heavy on the immerse yourself.
Yes. Yes.
Heavy on the immerse yourself. Yes. Okay. Come to my office then. Not let's just have a phone call. You free physically? Because I'm still a one-on-one kind of person. Right? I'm tired of virtual life.
Yeah, I'm over it.
Right?
I'm over it.
Come immerse yourself because I want you to know that I'm here. I'm supportive. Whatever you want to do, okay, how can I help you? I get way more than not than keeping the information quiet. Then really you didn't get knowledge.
Right.
Because you don't receive knowledge to not give it to anybody. Please keep that in mind because somebody helped me with something.
And it could be something that you don't even know.
Something you don't even know.
Right.
I have have supporters. And when I think about those individuals, you of course being one of them, major, cheerleader. And it's like, when you talk about immerse, you are the epitome of immerse. Every other day we talking about being thrown into the well because it's like, Mercedes entertains my shit. She be with the shits. Okay, well, what you want to do? 100%. She's not the person that's going to tell me not to do it.
Unless it absolutely cannot be done.
Which at this point, I have not come to her with something that can't absolutely not be done. Right? But it's just like, there's nothing like having that type of support system. And then I want to be the cheerleader for others. I want to be able to put into others. One of the things that, I have been learning is that you treat people the way you treat yourself.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about a dimensional lifestyle, we're talking about a holistic lifestyle, we're talking about the 8 dimensions and trying to create a balance in our lives, right? That means that we're identifying the things we're good at in a particular dimension, the things that, need a little bit of work, and we're trying to create some form of a balance. But that means that we're making ourselves priority. We're pouring into ourselves. We're evaluating our needs. And then we're executing our wellness plan to kind of bring, the mental, emotional dimension. I'm at a 8, but I need to be at a 20. Mm-hmm. What am I doing? Okay, maybe I get a therapist. Maybe I do this. Maybe I do that, right? You're trying to identify how you can balance yourself out. Because here's the thing. When we talked about the overlap and the influence, when you think of the, occupational dimension, if you're working at a job that's not bringing you enough income, right? Mm-hmm. That means it's affecting your financial dimension.
Right.
Okay, you're not bringing in enough money. Even with trying to manage your finances in the best way, you're not bringing in enough money for you to take care of yourself and your family.
Right.
God forbid you got children and a husband or a significant other, right? Then, of course, that's going to transcend into your mental and emotional health, right? Because now you're anxious, you're worried, you don't feel your best.
Yeah.
And it doesn't put you in the best mental way, which then can break your spirit. Yeah. So now we're into a spiritual dimension where you're looking at your kids at Christmas time, if you celebrate Christmas, and you're unable to put gifts under the tree. I couldn't imagine how a mom or a dad would feel, a caregiver would feel about not being able to provide that. That's 4 dimensions right there.
Yeah.
Seriously. So that means when you're really thinking in a very clear manner, if in looking at the 8 dimensions as a seesaw, and you got 4 on one side, 4 on the other side. I've identified 4 that are right now dead.
Yeah.
That means these other 4 need to be healthy enough to make sure they both don't plummet.
Right.
They both are not, in such a demise, because when they both come down to the ground, that's a nervous breakdown. Mm-hmm. That's a hospitalization. Yeah. That's an ulcer. That's substance use.
Yeah.
That's me being, preying on other individuals. That is the epitome of, hurt people.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm not healthy in any of these dimensions. Mm-hmm. So the idea is not to be 100% in them all, but it means to be well balanced enough so that when there are a few that are not as healthy right now, the other ones can kind of hold you up.
Yeah.
In order for you to address some of the instability on the other side. Mm-hmm. So when we take the responsibility, because it is our responsibility, our wellness, our happiness is our responsibility.
Nobody
Can things influence it? For sure.
Of course.
But it's our job.
Right. It's
right?
not your child's job.
It's not your child's job. Parent, husband, wife, significant other, job, church, pastor, imam, you name it, priest.
Instagram, ain't nobody's job.
Nobody's job.
Make you feel anyway, but yours.
But you. And when you start to realize that and you put into yourself, you start to make yourself a priority, and you start to pour into yourself, you start to treat yourself good, you don't have a choice but to treat other people good.
Right, you feel good.
You feel good. You want to. It is impossible, and I don't care what anybody says. It is impossible To treat other people disrespectfully, nasty, ignorantly, is to prey on someone, to steal from someone, to do any of those things if you're treating yourself well.
Right.
So what I've been telling people is that sometimes what we see and what we think, what we perceive of others is not really what's happening. Mm-hmm. You can't appear to have it all together. Mm-hmm. You can't appear to have the car, to have the money, mm-hmm. to, have it, like, oh man, when I see, her, she's always, God, she's fly, she this, she that, but her attitude is so nasty. That's impossible.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, if you're getting a nasty attitude, I more than guarantee you that lady, that man is treating themselves way worse.
Mm-hmm. And it took them a whole lot of strength to try to show up today to have people admire them and want to be like them. It took them a whole lot of energy to get to that point.
Yeah.
Like, one thing I learned is that comparing myself is impossible because I believe that I'm a unique individual.
That's it.
So it's like, I used to be, it's so funny talking about social media. I used to be on social media like, oh my God, how she get this or how she start this business, or like, dang, I wish I could do that. And it got to the point where I would just give up. Yeah. Like, I'm just not going to do it at all. And I think after I had my daughter and I went through my mental health issues and challenges, and I had a therapist. She's right in front of me.
Listen, that wasn't me. The board, I did not break confidentiality. I cannot confirm or deny.
But I had a therapist, and my therapist said to me that you are the author of your story. And it took me a minute to realize that, because I'm like, what you mean I'm the author of my own story? I woke up today not feeling well. It's like, because you chose that. Mm-hmm. And it's like, wow. So if I choose to look at myself differently, I don't have to compare myself to people. You have it because you got it. Mm-hmm. I don't have it because it ain't meant for me right now.
Yes.
I'll get it a different way. Or if I don't get it, I just don't. It's not for me. It's not for me. And you can't beat yourself up about other people and what other people have and what other people are doing and how it looks and how it feels, and then, oh my God, but look at me, I'm just in this room, and then you just sit there and you don't do anything.
Yes.
You want your house to look like an influencer's house? Straighten it up. Burn a candle.
Burn some sage.
Right, simple things. Palo Santo.
Yes.
Like, take that negative energy out and introduce new energy, because this life be lifing.
Yes, it does.
It be lifing, and it's just, it blows my mind. It blows my mind. The older I get and seeing my daughter grow up, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
I can pour so much into her to make sure that when she's like 10, 15, she got a little more sense than some other people. Yes. She can help other people. She can give her friends advice. She can come off as a person of like trust, and a person who's genuine and supportive. Yes. So it's so important. It's important.
It's important.
It's important.
It's important. I mean, that's growth. Mm-hmm. That's maturity, right? It takes us some time to get to that place. However, when we do, when we show up, it's empowering. It's almost liberating. Some people don't know this, and I'll share this, but every year I pick a word or two. I theme my year out. And for 2024, I don't wait until the time to do it. But my words to just continue to resonate with me, and my themes usually come from things I'm going through or I'm realizing. And 2024 is about peace.
Yes.
And liberation.
Yes.
I cannot seem to get away from requiring peace and freedom. Mm-hmm. You perceive that however you like.
Right.
Freedom, period.
Right.
My physical freedom.
Yes.
My emotional and mental freedom.
Yes.
I want financial freedom.
Yes.
I want occupational freedom.
Yes.
I want social freedom.
I want
I want intellectual freedom.
Oh,
I want spiritual freedom.
Yes.
I done written down the 8 dimensions. I want to be free and I want to have peace within those areas of my life.
Yes.
And I will have it.
Mm-hmm. By
Period.
any means.
I will have it.
Yes.
By any means necessary. Didn't Mother Harriet say it?
Yes.
By any means necessary.
Yes.
She said we out.
Yes.
And she meant it.
Yeah, and if you want to stay behind,
and you want to
but I'm out. We're leaving.
We out. So that's the 8 dimensions of wellness. You know, I feel like I'm so attached to it because it is like the truth. Like it is the truth.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, hopefully that left, you know, our listeners with something.
Yeah.
And as we transition and close out the show, we want to close out with a mindful moment, a question of prompts, for you to think about our mindful moment. And the question focuses on self-awareness, which is a good focus today.
Yes.
Right? When talking about the 8 dimensions and the reflection of, you know, who we are, our self-discovery, and who we, you know, are we who we are meant to be? You know, I think that that question is ongoing. Are we?
Right.
Do you ever know what your purpose is? Sometimes I think we have an idea, and we're reminded of what that is, but we're always evolving. But I think, you know, are we who we're meant to be? That is the question that you have to continuously ask yourself. So when being self-aware, it's a good question. If people came with a warning label, what would yours say?
It would have to be a facial expression. Watch yourself. Because I got too many people behind me that will come for you in the most politest, wellness, spiritual way. I'm talking about my ancestors.
Listen.
It's like, watch how you talk to me. Watch how you speak to me. And that's something that I realized, like, growing up. I was like, my karma is kind of good. Like, people would tease me. I was the tallest girl in elementary school. My name is Mercedes. Everybody swears I'm named after a car. I'm actually named after my godmother, Mercedes, who was Duke Ellington's great-granddaughter.
Listen.
It's the history.
It's the history, yes.
I mean, but I was like, why are people treating me like this? Like, why do people do that? And it's like, girl, it's because you're different. It's because they know they can't touch you. Yeah. So they're going to try to leave you with something to mess you up for the rest of your life. And it's like, watch yourself. Watch your step. Just like when somebody will mop something up and the dummy sits there and falls, the dummy that want to mess with me, you're going to slip and fall. And you're going to fall real hard to the point where you're going to get up and you're going to be like, damn, let me fix my life. Where's Ayana Ron? Let me fix my life. Let me get her book off of Amazon for $10.99 and fix my life because I done fucked with the wrong person.
Wait, not other things No.
Like, where her book is on sale.
Listen.
Okay?
She show up when she show up.
Yes, she do.
You know, I think my sign would say proceed with caution.
Yes.
Because you really don't know what you're doing. And I mean, it doesn't mean it's a bad thing.
Right.
I'm just saying proceed with caution.
Yes.
Yield.
Yes.
The warning signs, you know, and they're good ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before you approach me, make sure you approach me right.
Yup.
Proceed with caution.
If you're not feeling good today, do not speak to me.
Don't do it.
Don't
do it.
Yes.
Yes. That's a good one. That's a good one. Okay. Well, Lotus Livin. Lotus Livin is about transcending existence by intentionally creating and sustaining a well-balanced lifestyle, overcoming adversity, and contributing to the well-being of mankind while embracing the evolution of who you are meant to become.
Yes.
That is Lotus Livin. How are you going to live up on this lifestyle?
Throw me in the well.
Period.
Okay, throw me in the well. Those that get it, and those that don't will learn to get it. Throw me in the well. Throw me in the well.
Point blank period. Listen, just the other day, I told Mercedes, you know what, let me just drown in the well.
Yes.
I'll come back.
Yes.
I was just jumping. gonna jump in and I'm gonna just drown.
Yes, I'm not gonna try to learn to swim this time. Just let me drown.
Done.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much.
Of course, thank
This
you
was
for
a good
having me,
time.
Char.
I will see y'all next time, next episode of Lotus Livin with Char. Peace.